Imagine opening your eyes for the very first time, not in a warm hospital, not in a safe home, but in a tiny wooden hut where smoke fills the air, food is almost gone, and your family has no idea if they'll survive the winter. Outside, the sky looks strange. The sun shines, but it doesn't feel warm. Birds have disappeared. The crops are dying. And every adult around you whispers the same terrifying words. Something is wrong with the world. Now imagine this isn't fiction. It really happened. Historians believe there was one period in human history so brutal, so hopeless, that simply being born during those years could have been the worst luck imaginable. No antibiotics, no electricity, no clean water, no modern farming. And before you even learned to walk, death was already following your footsteps. But here's the mystery. It wasn't a world war. It wasn't the Black Death. It wasn't even the Ice Age. So what happened? To answer that, we need to travel back nearly 1,500 years, to a year many historians call the worst year to be alive. And if you had been born then, your chances of reaching adulthood would have been painfully small, because nature itself had become humanity's greatest enemy. But no one alive knew that something far more terrifying was still coming, something that would change human history forever. The year was 536 AD. Without warning, something incredible happened. A massive volcanic eruption, possibly in Iceland or somewhere else in the northern hemisphere, threw enormous amounts of ash high into the atmosphere. Nobody knew what a volcano was capable of. People only saw the result. The sun became weak. Daylight looked like evening. For nearly 18 months, a strange gray haze covered much of the sky. Imagine waking up every morning, looking outside, and seeing a cold, lifeless world where the sun had almost disappeared. "What did we do?" a frightened child whispered. "I don't know, just stay close." As temperatures dropped across Europe, Asia, and parts of the Middle East, crops stopped growing. Fields that once fed entire villages turned brown. Fruit trees produced almost nothing. Animals began starving. Then the people followed. Families fought over their last piece of bread. Parents skipped meals so their children could eat. But even that wasn't enough. Soon, villages that were once full of laughter became frighteningly quiet. Some people packed everything they owned and searched for food somewhere else. Others stayed, waiting for a miracle that never came. Many believed the gods were angry. Others thought the world was ending. But none of them knew the truth. This disaster wasn't just destroying crops. It was weakening humanity itself. And when millions of hungry, exhausted people could barely survive, a silent killer was already beginning its journey toward them. One that would claim countless more lives than the cold ever could. Just when people thought life couldn't get any worse, it did. A deadly disease began spreading across towns, villages, and busy trading ports. Today, historians know it as the Justinian Plague. But back then, people had no name for it. They only knew that healthy people went to bed and never woke up. A young farmer noticed his neighbor's door had been closed for days. He knocked once. No answer. He slowly pushed the door open. Inside, the entire family lay silent. No screams, no struggle, only an eerie stillness. Within weeks, the sickness spread from house to house. No one knew how it traveled. Some blamed bad air. Others blamed strangers. Many believed it was a punishment from heaven. Fear spread even faster than the disease. Friends stopped visiting each other. Markets became empty. Parents kept their children inside, hoping closed doors could keep death away. But the plague didn't care. It slipped through cities, crossed rivers, and followed trade routes across continents. Every morning, fewer people woke up. Every evening, more graves had to be dug. The strongest workers disappeared. Farmers died before harvesting crops. Soldiers became too weak to defend their lands. Entire communities began falling apart. It felt as if humanity had been betrayed by the very world that once gave it life. But the greatest twist was still waiting. Because while people were fighting hunger and running from disease, another invisible enemy was quietly changing the future of entire civilizations. One that no sword, no king, and no army could stop. That invisible enemy was fear. Fear changed people more than the cold, more than hunger, even more than the plague. Neighbors stopped trusting neighbors. Travelers were turned away. Families locked their doors and prayed they would still be alive by sunrise. Empires that once seemed unbreakable began to crack. Trade slowed. Cities shrank. Entire villages disappeared from history. For a child born during those years, life was a daily fight. There were no vaccines, no hospitals, no weather forecasts. No one could explain why the sky stayed gray, why the harvests failed, or why loved ones vanished overnight. Yet somehow, humanity refused to give up. Parents still protected their children. Farmers planted seeds, even when they doubted anything would grow. Communities shared what little food they had. And little by little, the skies cleared. The climate slowly recovered. New harvests returned. The plague faded. Life, though forever changed, found a way to begin again. Today, many historians call 536 AD one of the worst years to be alive because it combined climate disaster, famine, economic collapse, and devastating disease into one tragic period. But history teaches us something even more powerful. Humanity has survived volcanic winters, deadly pandemics, and the collapse of great civilizations. Every generation has faced impossible moments. Yet every generation has also left behind hope for the next. So if you ever think you're living through the hardest time in history, remember this. Our ancestors faced a world where the sun itself seemed to disappear. And even then, they chose to keep moving forward. Because the greatest survival tool humans have ever had wasn't strength or technology. It was hope.